Welcome to Just Travel with Sandy. I'm Sandy. I have been in the travel space for many, many years, and I wrote a book on how travel shaped my life. It's called The Travel Lounge Life. I've been to 39 countries, and I believe that travel is the ultimate investment in yourself. And I believe nothing transforms us more than travel. And if you can, and this is going to lead into my guest today, if you can instill that in your kids and travel with your kids, if you're able, not everybody is, then I believe nothing really broadens the mind more than travel. It's not about the vacations, it's about transformation. So let's dive right in. I'm here with Kristin Foust, and she runs Foust Family Travel with her husband, Jason. She has a bachelor's in commercial recreation and tourism and loves getting to experience different countries all around the world. And she has three boys and quickly learned that, and this is so true, that family travel is really set up for four. And there's five, right? So what do? It's her goal to help planning family vacations that it takes the stress out and you have that one extra or two extra or three extra people, right? So thank you so much for being with me today, Kristen. I'm really excited about this because my kids are 28 and 31, and I'm so out of the kids travel thing. So I'm super happy for you to speak on this. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Sandy. I'm happy to come chat about this topic because it is something that I see a lot of families get frustrated with over trying to figure out things on their own. And in today's technology, there's lots of things that can trip them up, small little things that can actually make their family vacation that they paid thousands of dollars for not as enjoyable.
And one of them is, and I'm just going to say this before we get into it, is don't 100%, and I've said this on social and everywhere else a lot lately, don't 100% rely on AI to plan your trips.
Yes. Oh, yes.
There's so many. I'm sure you do too, like newsletters, travel newsletters. And literally, at least once or twice a week, I get some faux pas where somebody literally planned their entire trip with ChatGPT. And if a restaurant isn't closed on a certain day, okay, that's doable. But if a couple shows up to their honeymoon and doesn't have the documentation, because you 100% rely, not saying don't use it, but don't rely on it 100%.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
So let me ask you this. A lot of parents don't really enjoy traveling with their kids because it's not a vacation. And why do you think that is?
The number one reason that I see this happening, and I made this mistake myself when we first traveled, when our oldest two were really little, is managing expectations around the trip. And how I made that mistake early on and what made me realize it, my boys were just turned two in about 10 months, and we did our first family trip outside of visiting family members. We went down to Florida, and I, in my head, was like, oh, they'll nap at the same time, they'll go to bed at the same time, we're gonna stay in an Airbnb so they'll eat the same foods. Like it'll just be like we're doing our normal routine, but like in a new place. Because I had no idea that when children are in new environments, everything goes out the window. So I had all these expectations and got super frustrated when my 10-month-old was waking up several times a night, not napping at all. And when my 2-year-old refused to wear anything but fleece footy pajamas to the beach when it was 84 degrees outside. So it made me realize like I had all these expectations in my head about how the trip should go, how my children should act. And that is what I see most parents doing is they have this assumption of how their kids will be, or maybe they think this, we're going to Disney, my kids are going to love this. Like they're going to be so happy the entire time. We're going to have so much fun. And they don't really factor in either early mornings, really late nights, all the things that can cause children to have meltdowns. And it's completely normal developmentally for it to happen. So,
Overstimulation, even, right?
yes, yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just completely new environments, overstimulation, long days, and it can ruin a parent's mood because they're expecting one thing to happen. And when it doesn't happen, you get way more frustrated and upset and angry with the situation.
That makes so much sense. When you were talking about that, it just reminded me. So, back in the day when my kids were little, my husband at the time and we went on a vacation, and it was just a weekend away. And we only had one at the time, our daughter at home. and there was a couple there was a couple and they got in the elevator with us and they had brought their kid and we're like, "Oh, we should have brought her." And they're like, "No, we should have left her at home." But there's definitely pros and cons to everything, but I
Yeah.
do believe when you manage it and know out of your environment, children are gonna act differently, potentially.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, you and your husband run a business,
Mhm.
travel, family travel mainly, and I 100% agree. I think working with a travel advisor is so important, but especially when it comes to navigating families, and especially you said you learn 4, it's 2 and 2, but you go outside of that, the room situation changes everything. So why would you recommend it's so important, or what is the advantage of working with a travel advisor, especially when traveling with the family?
Yeah, the number one reason I think is because women are making 70% of the decisions in the household, and they also take on all that mental load that has to do with everything from planning vacation to managing school schedules, sports schedules, groceries, you name it. And so when they add on trying to plan a vacation and they spend hours on TripAdvisor or the internet trying to sort out like what place, destination would be best, what resort or cruise line or tour would be best for them, and then trying to figure out all the booking and all the little maybe niche things that come with traveling to a certain destination that they have to understand. They're spending hours upon hours when they have all this other stuff at home they're trying to take care of. It really makes it less enjoyable. And then the other half is if it's a parent that's more the type B parent that wants to plan the vacation, what they don't understand is a lot of times they might book a vacation thinking their type A spouse is going to be so excited, but really they just pushed all this mental load back on the type A spouse because the type B parent's not going to pay attention to like, what do we need to pack? What else do we need to take care of? Do we need a pet sitter before we go? And so we also want to
All the
help
things.
those, yeah, all the things. We want to help those type B parents make sure they do not push mental load back on the other parent. They can actually plan the trip from start to finish and let that other parent truly enjoy it. So this way the whole family can relax on vacation. And I think the biggest myth with working with a travel advisor is that it costs a lot of money.
Mhm.
And my degree is in tourism. I went to college for this, and I did not learn that either. That was a myth that I thought for a long time after graduating because I worked directly with tour operators, so we weren't working with travel agents necessarily. And my assumption was also that it would cost more to
Right.
work with one. And in many cases, either costs nothing because they're getting paid from a commission for whoever you are booking with, or they have a small planning fee, which is covering the hours that the travel advisor is using to book and plan the trip for you. And it's really well worth the planning fee to get that peace of mind and save you all that time on your end.
I so wholeheartedly agree with that. I have booked children, but for the most part, that's not my specialty. It takes such a load off, and we hear it all the time too, right? I had 37 tabs open and I didn't even know where to start, right? And
Yeah.
it's yeah. Is it what makes it I'm trying to see how to best phrase this question, but booking a trip for 4 versus 5 or 6 or 7, like, how does that differ? Like,
Most room occupancy is based off of four, and in a lot of countries or states, there's actually fire code, and as it's a room especially designed for five or six, you cannot have more than four. So then it adds this complexity of, okay, what places can a family five or six stay in one room, or where can they get guaranteed connecting rooms where they have a door between the rooms? Because not every place offers guaranteed connecting rooms. So there's these little things that you may not know about traveling as a bigger family that can really add stress trying to figure things out. One thing that I've seen recently with cruising too is we just went on a cruise a couple weeks ago. A lot of cruise cabins are the same thing. They're designed for two, three, four people. And depending on the cruise line, there's not many options for five people. And if you're not aware of that, it's a lot harder to book last minute as a family of 5 or 6 when you want those connecting rooms or you want everyone in one room because those rooms on a cruise ship or at a resort go very quickly
Mm,
because there are so many large families that those rooms are booked up first. And so you may be scrambling if you want to take a trip 3 months from now, trying to figure out where even has space. And that's where, as a travel advisor who has experience in it, I know which cruise ships offer those specialty rooms, which resorts have the rooms that fit that are not, because a lot of times what happens is it becomes a suite. And then your price doubles or triples what you
right.
originally wanted to pay because now you have to fit everyone in a suite. And so there are certain resorts where they accommodate bigger families, but at more of a normal price without having to pay for a suite.
That makes total sense. And I was actually thinking of that because I was touring, visiting, inspecting, whatever, a cruise ship in the city. It was with Norwegian Cruise Lines. And the difference in pricing for the suites and for the is immense. And it can be cost prohibitive, especially if you have several kids. So let me ask you this. Do you have a favorite destination for traveling with a large family?
It depends on what the family wants. If they are looking for that kind of beach vacation type thing, I definitely think, and if it's either a large family or multi-generational, cruises can be fun just because you can visit multiple destinations without having to change hotel rooms. You're in one room. And Royal Caribbean and Disney Cruise Line are the two cruise lines that really accommodate bigger families. And their ships are also designed to entertain guests of all ages. So, from really young kids all the way to adults, there's really something for everyone to do that they should feel like they have activities they can participate in that they're interested in. And then I truly, when your kids get to an age where you feel like you're, and this is different for everyone, feel comfortable traveling internationally, this is where guided tours can really come in handy because maybe you're not totally ready to travel with your kids like on a trip yourself. But if you do a guided tour like Adventures by Disney, you get to travel to another country, experience a new culture with your kids, but you have guides with you the whole time. So you're not worried about getting lost in a city or trying to navigate a subway system on your own. You have a guide with you the whole time, and then the activities are tailored for kids. So it's they can also get something out of it where they're doing activities that they're interested in versus some of the other tour groups are just for adults. And while you can bring kids, the kids might be bored based on what the activities are.
So, Adventures by Disney, and you had mentioned that to me when we talked. It's not, which I actually had never heard of them because I'm not that in depth with Disney. But so, Adventures by Disney is not actually Disney World or Disneyland, right?
Yeah, so you're not going to a theme park. They have them all over the world and they have some at the national parks in the US too. You're visiting either like a national park or a new country like Japan, and they have this itinerary that's built around learning about the culture, getting to have activities for kids where they can experience the culture, but it's something they'll have fun doing. And it's just a really cool thing. The minimum age is 5, but they recommend 8 for most of their tours. So it's just something to keep in mind, like
Mhm.
in knowing your kid and whether or not they would fit that. But I think it's a great way for parents who want to do some international travel with their kids, but they're a little bit nervous about doing it completely on their own or even like partially on their own.
That's so interesting. I love that they do that. That's
Mhm.
really a great addition because Tokyo does have a Disney, but it's like not everybody just always wants to do the theme parks, right? And we used to go to Ireland a lot because my ex-husband's from Dublin and visiting family or whatever, but we always also tried to do stuff with the kids and they were very kid friendly and they had a lot of tours like that. It wasn't under the Disney umbrella, but it just reminded me of that because I think it makes a lot of sense. So, what is the first question you should be asking yourself or your family when planning a vacation?
That would be what kind of vibe or energy do you want to the trip? Because I've seen it before I had a friend come to me who wanted to book a family vacation, and she goes, "We're thinking of a cruise or Disney." And I told her those are two completely different things. Do you want to be more relaxing or do you want to have more of a go adventurous? Because Disney sounds fun. And if you are a family and this is like your only vacation of the year, do you want to be on the go every single day or most days? We went to Disney the summer before last and I felt like I needed to sleep for 3 days straight after I went. So I feel like asking yourself and your
Yeah.
family, what kind of vacation do we want? Do we want a more relaxing vacation? Do we want like an on-the-go adventurous? Do we want somewhere in the middle? And figuring out what kind of vacation you want can help you start to narrow down destinations, ideas, activities you're going to do to make sure that it's going to fit your family and you're not just going off what the new cool thing is. And with that is if you see a social media influencer posting a really cool resort and you just think, I want to go to that resort, and you don't really check out the resort or see what they offer, and your kids are more active kids, but all they have is a beach or a pool, your kids might be bored the whole time. And they might be end up bothering you going, what are we going to do? We're bored. Entertain us. And your whole point to going to a resort was to have the kids to be entertained so you wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point, to getting the vibe of the trip. And I'm gonna have Kristen's information in the show notes for anybody that wants to reach out to her and has kids and want to book a trip, multi-generational or just even kids. But if have you traveled with your children internationally? And what ages were they? And was there anything that you weren't prepared for?
We have not done a specific international trip yet. My boys are 6, 5, and 3. And so they're a little on the young side still. I'm like very excited to get a little bit older and take them on one. And part of our problem right now is they're extremely picky. And I know like my husband, I love Asia. I know we could go to Asia and they could eat rice, but I want them to go when I take them to be a little more adventurous eaters.
Mhm.
But we did just go on a cruise a couple weeks ago and we stopped in the Bahamas, Mexico, and Honduras. And so international, but not quite the same as doing like an actual international trip. And my biggest thing, like what I didn't expect or wasn't prepared for, is probably, I don't know. I think I'm glad I didn't try to do more activities. My boys ended up loving the beach and the ocean so much. They just were swimming, and like when we were in Honduras, they swam for like 2 hours straight in the ocean.
Nice.
And part of it, I looked back and I didn't take like any photos, which on one hand is great because that means I was present. But on the other hand, I'm sad because I'm like, I don't have
Yeah,
any family photos. So for me, it's like trying to find that balance of making sure I'm taking photos, like a couple, maybe right when we get there, take a photo of the three of them, family photo, so I can still be present, but have those
right.
memories because I'm very big on family photos and memories.
Yeah, absolutely. Not like me back in the day when we were on vacation, there was no such thing as digital, and I had like boxes of albums. And I'm a purger, and I but that's one thing, I need to digitize those because I have you take 10 photos to get one good one type situation. And we did a lot of international travel with the kids just because our families were all in Europe, and so we went all over, and I need to weed through those sometimes. But it is nice that you were able to be present. And did have you on the cruise ships, have you taken advantage of the kids clubs? Is that something that you do?
Yes, it was interesting. My boys, we go to the open house so they can see everything, meet the staff. And then they went the first full day. And then one of my middle child, who's 5, said he didn't want to go again. And so we were trying to ask him why. And he just said it was because he wanted to do, they didn't have scheduled like activities all the time. A lot of time it was open play. And he only wanted to go when there were crafts or scheduled activities. So we had to look at the schedule each day and be like, okay, this is, and tell him this is what they're doing and try to encourage him to go so we could get a break.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Did you feel though with that it was like a good way for you and your husband to have a vacation with the boys, but then also just the 2 of you on your own? Was that like a good do you feel like a cruise was a good middle ground for that?
Yes, I think so. That's one of the reasons we chose that for our fall vacation was we wanted to be able to take advantage of, since we weren't traveling with grandparents or any other family, to utilize the kids club so we could get a break. So I think they went to the kids club almost every day from anywhere from 1 hour to 4 hours. And so we got a break every day. And some of the days we were working, we were taking content for our business, but a lot of the times we were just hanging out, Jason and I, like we went to the adults only deck and we're hanging out on the adults only deck for a while. So
Yeah.
it was very nice.
That's awesome. So, do you have a piece of advice before we wrap it up? Anything that you would like to share with the audience to be aware of or to think about as far as traveling with children?
It's never going to go 100% perfectly. Even if you're not traveling with kids, it's never, your trip's
Right.
probably never going to go
Right.
100% perfectly. And definitely with kids, it's not going to. And so just understanding and going in with that mindset of you can just roll with the punches when something happens and you'll figure it out. If you're prepared, you'll be ready with a solution. And also, when things go wrong, to not beat yourself up about like making mistakes. We took from our private driver we had to the airport after the cruise. My son had this stuffed turtle, my 3-year-old, that he was obsessed with, and it got put in the back. And then we got out of the shuttle. I was working on paying our driver. They were getting the stuff out, and somehow the turtle got left behind. And we did not realize it until we were on the plane, like already past takeoff, almost landing. I was like, "Where's the turtle?" And my husband goes, "I don't know. Didn't we pack it?" And I'm like, "No, I'm almost positive we had it in the stroller." Like, and I started to beat myself up so bad. Like, I can't believe I forgot the turtle. I can't believe I missed this. I thought I checked the van when we got out. And like, really, like, almost in tears for my son because I knew once he found out, he was going to be really upset that we lost his turtle. So it was like hard for me for about a day because I just made one. It wasn't even really my mistake, technically. It was like a collective, like
And
the
things
shuttle
happen, right?
driver,
Mhm.
yeah, our private driver didn't check the van thoroughly when he was taking luggage out. My husband also didn't check. So all of us made this mistake, but I was taking it all as my own responsibility. And I see moms do that a lot where
Mhm.
they think they like take something on when it goes wrong. So when something goes wrong, even if it was a little mistake you made, like it's okay. It can, most of the time, it can always be fixed. We ended up getting the turtle back today. I contacted our driver or the company, and they found it and they mailed it back to us.
Oh, wow, that's
Turtle again.
amazing.
Yeah, so we have the turtle again, and
Aw.
I beat myself up for nothing because we got
Yep.
him back.
That is true though. Women moms, we often take the burden. I'm sure your son was so happy
Oh,
when
yes,
he
he
got
was
his
so
turtle.
excited.
Oh, that's so sweet. Those moments. And it's all part of the learning process, right? I mean, it definitely is. I love that. So, like I said, I'm gonna have Kristen's website and social media, everything in the show notes if you want to get in touch with her. If you have kids that you would like to travel with and would like help with the travel advisor, because in this case, I'm not the best. I am at the other end of the spectrum. Please feel free to reach out to Kristen. And thanks for being on today. If you're ready to start planning or need inspiration for what's possible, I would love to hear from you. And I have some exciting trips coming up, group trips coming up next year to China, to Brazil, to a Christmas trip to Germany, and a fourth location that I'm still trying to nail down. And if you love travel, join me on my meetup Tuesday evenings and Saturdays. It's a meetup. That link will also be in the show notes. It's called Trips and Sips. And until next time, keep dreaming, exploring, and remember that every journey starts with a single step.